Okay folks, so it's time to start cleaning out the wood stove. Here in Washington, we traded in our fireplace for a wood stove insert a few years ago because we wanted to make sure that we could supplement our fuel oil and use something a little more sustainable like wood that's already been cut down anyway. So every once in a while we have to clean this out, even though it's super efficient and leaves very little ash at any given time. It does build up eventually. So let's go ahead and get it opened. And I've got a flashlight here to kind of help us see in. But, you know, there's that problem with overexposure too. So not a whole lot of light in here. We've got to have the curtains closed right now because it's just cold outside. So one of the things that you want to do when you're cleaning out your wood stove, and I'm assuming that's going to go for a freestanding or a regular wood stove, or even if you have a fireplace, if you're going to clean it out, you want to make sure that you're using a metal trash can. So, or a metal ash can, I should say. This is metal. There's no plastic that can melt because you're not always going to let your wood stove completely cool before you clean it out. This is my job though. Pretty much everything at home is my job because the husband's out working a real job. And so we're just going to start with pulling out all the ashes. Now if there were big chunks of like charcoal in here left over from the last burn, I would absolutely set those aside and reuse them, but this is almost completely burned up. It's going to make a little bit of a plume of ash up in the air, but the slower you go, the more careful you are, the deeper you put the scoop before you dump it. All of those things are going to work together. Oops. It is a bit of a messy job. So I've gotten the back half done. Now I'm going to take a little broom and I'm going to sweep up the front area. Now you're not going to use this little broom if it's hot in there, obviously, but it is completely cool. You might say I'm practicing homesteading. Here I am in town, and we've been using a wood stove insert for our fireplace as our primary source of heat. Now, luckily, we do have a backup because it only heats basically our living room. So we do have an oil furnace, and if we find that the house is getting too cold, we definitely turn that oil furnace on. But this is just part of what life is going to be like out on that off-grid homestead. We're going to have a wood stove for our primary source of heat and a small propane furnace, not furnace, but just a small propane heater as our backup. And that means every single day of my life, except Sundays, I will be either chopping firewood or I will be carrying it in. And so that's what I'm doing now. I am carrying in firewood, and this is going to be enough to last us for today. Just for today. It won't even fill up the rack next to the stove. But I'm in really bad shape. And one of the things that I have learned is if I want to get into better shape, I need to do a little bit at a time. Don't get so winded that I can't talk or continue to move. But definitely raise that heart rate. And we'll start, as I diet and exercise, we'll start losing some weight and getting into better shape. So that's it. This is me. I'm just practicing homestead. One of those things, living off grid. You gotta work every day at the things that you need to survive. So there's some things that I've learned about using wood heat while I'm practicing homesteading. And one of those things is that wood is very dirty. Not just the debris from carrying the wood in from outside, which is quite enough to be getting on with, but all of this is bits of wood and ash every time I open the stove in order to add more wood. So if you're going to heat with wood, you're either going to have to really be excited about wiping things down at least once a day, or you're going to have to learn to live with the mess. Truth is, it doesn't bother me. We clean it up periodically. My husband is more about keeping it clean than I am, but I'm okay with this. It gets cleaned up every day or so. Another thing that I've learned about heating with wood is it is extremely dry. If you live in a very humid area with lots of moisture in the air, that could absolutely be a blessing for you. But even though I'm in the Pacific Northwest, where there is more moisture than some places, um, it's not really considered a humid area, and our house gets really dry. Now, we're not just concerned about the condition of the furniture and the walls and things like that, but my skin is so dry. I could bathe in body lotion and still be dry. I have to drink so much more water than I normally would. But I also have to use a saline nasal spray. Because otherwise, with the dryness from the wood heat, I get uh, very dry sinuses, bad headaches from that. Now, I don't know if you can see that little, make it so you can see it, right there. That is a cast iron pot. It's enamel lined, so you have to make sure that it doesn't boil dry. The top of our wood stove gets hot enough to make the water steam, but it won't make it boil. It doesn't get that quite hot. But if you're going to use a wood stove, you definitely want a water source on that wood stove. The way it sits right now, you can't really see it, but steam actually comes out of the chimney. Mine looks like a little log cabin on the top, and steam comes out of the chimney. And if we had it on a regular wood stove, like a wood cook stove or something like that, we would have it on a trivet and it would still get very hot, and you would definitely see that steam. But aside from that, I also keep a humidifier, like you would use in a baby's bedroom, here in the living room. And I try to keep that going all the time. It's out of water right now, it ran out. But otherwise, it's just unbearably dry. Another thing you want to know about heating with wood is you can't really control the temperature. On colder, breezier days, I find that it is almost impossible to get our living room up to 70 degrees. And here in Western Washington, it doesn't generally get very cold. We do end up, if it won't get up decently warm in the house, we do have to turn on the furnace. But then, once it really gets cooking, you can't slow it down. It won't cool off. So it's either on or off for the most part. Now, you could put more wood in it, less wood in it, but ultimately you're not going to set a thermostat and have it be 72 degrees in your home if you're heating with wood. You're going to have hot and cold, hot and cold. But I like heating with wood, partly because I own 40 acres of forest, and so free heat. That's one thing that I'm looking forward to. Also, another thing that I've learned heating with wood is you definitely want to keep your firewood close to the house. Right now, we have to go down the back porch, across the backyard, down another set of stairs, and out the driveway. And as crow flies, that's very, very close. But it's a lot of walking, and the closer you can get your firewood to your home where you're actually using it, probably the better. Now, we have kind of a solution because we don't want all of our firewood next to our house. We have purchased the cages to a number of IBC totes, intermediate bulk container. And that's those metal cage that you may have seen when I was getting the firewood from outside. And we're going to fill those with firewood. And the plan is, as soon as we can get something to pull them with, or possibly to lift them with, to take one tote at a time and put it up by the house. And that will help us to not have too much by the house. The truth is, we don't have any problem with it here where we live right now in Washington, but snakes like piles of firewood. It's little places for them to hide, and I don't want snakes next to my house, even though we don't have poisonous snakes where we're moving in the UP of Michigan. So anyway, that's my take on firewood. This is me practicing homesteading until I can get out there. Really looking forward to making a permanent move and finishing the building of the big cabin, building our tiny cabin to get us through as temporary housing so that we don't have to worry about the roof leaking on the travel trailer, and maybe using those windows that we got a really great deal on. So thanks for watching. I'm not even going to edit this. I'm not putting music with it. I am just going to upload it from my phone, and maybe later I will do another video edited. Anyway, God bless.